Luna just keeps staring longingly into my eyes, so
How cute.
I haven't been home very long today.
Poor sweet baby. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's turn it on. Um, I
Always
should
makes me
really.
think of the Bill O'Reilly quote where he's like, "Fuck it, we'll do it live." That's what always makes me think of. You ever seen that video? No, it's a classic.
I'm a child. I really should figure out a more eloquent way to start the podcast than just by saying like every single time, but
Just get a signal, like do a thing. We gotta get you one of those on air signs. You can just push
that
like
would be really fun.
and then I know it has begun. I usually try to go based on your like tone of voice, but it's not a perfect system.
Fair enough. So, one thing I want to start off with is a callback to something that I mentioned a red hot minute ago now, but I mentioned a long time ago that I had stumbled across this artist, this musician on Instagram who had one single track on Spotify. And this artist is called Chanter, and that track is Hounds of Hell. And it's awesome, and I love it. But the exciting thing is that this past Friday, they released a new track called Witch's Brew, and it absolutely slaps! Everybody go listen to it. It will be linked in the description. It is so awesome. Yeah, this guy's great. I hope to
Nice.
see nothing but I hope we get an album at some point. Just nothing but more. Whatever this guy wants to do, I'm so here for it. So, that's a fun little announcement. The only announcement of any sort, I think, that I have for today.
Okay.
Anything new with you before we get even further into it?
Um, Not that springs to mind.
Nothing fun from the beginning of classes?
I was just thinking earlier today about how not one but two people in one of my classes said that their dream pet was a hognose snake.
Aww, that's so sweet.
Yeah, I was real jazzed about it because they'd shown a picture of Harley and they're like, "Oh my god, that's my dream pet." I'm like, "Are you serious?"
Although I do wonder if because you bring it up,
Yeah.
like you previously hadn't, like they previously had no reason to. Perhaps there were people who were also snake people in some of your older classes, but you just never they never came up because you didn't have a snake.
Because I've what year is this? Like almost 3.5 years. That took that took longer than it should have.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I show pictures of him in every class on the first day. That's just a rule. I meant to send you a picture of him that I took the other day because I cleaned his enclosure, so nice and shiny, and he just laid there and stared at his reflection for a long time and just, kept going the blah blah blahs.
Who's the other snake?
I honestly think he was confused because he wasn't just like laying there. He, was like semi-scoping the whole time, just like,
God,
who
what a
are
little
you?
what a little idiot.
Yeah, he's so dumb. That's what I
What?
say. He has the one brain cell bounces around the skull like a Windows screensaver.
And every
Everyone,
time it hits the corner, he gets one thought.
but no, when he catches that brain cell, he does a little blah, blah, blah. That's it.
No, that's
Blah, blah,
too
blah.
often. We're giving him too much credit.
That's true. Well, yeah, he only does the blah blah blahs when he notices movement. That's it.
Yeah. Actually, oh, yeah, so another random thing that I just remembered because this is sitting right next to me on my desk. I ordered some ghost artwork off of Etsy because of who I am as a person,
Hmm.
and the artist was nice enough to send like a bonus random print in my order.
Nice.
It's a fucking Reanimator inspired ghost print. What are the odds? I had no idea that they had even like that this was even in their art catalog.
That is awesome.
But yeah, this made me so excited. Hell yes. And I will be linking the Etsy shop in the description as well, because they've got some cool stuff. And if you're a fan of ghosts, you should totally check it out.
You should always just generally support independent artists.
Yes. Very important. Always do that. Support your favorite artists however you can, especially indie artists. All right. So with all of that sort of quote unquote out of the way, even though it's not like we're on any form of real schedule,
No one's making us.
this is something that came to me as I was driving home today, and I thought it was genius, but maybe I'm giving myself a little too much credit. The question is, if you could add 3 more seasons onto any TV show that was canceled way too soon, which show would you choose and why?
So I feel like we're just gonna skip over Firefly, because I feel like it's one everybody says, because it really was canceled too soon.
Sure.
Oh, no, you've never seen Firefly.
I have not.
I just remembered that. I always assume because you're a nerd, it's a thing nerds have seen.
A fair assumption, but that is not one of the things.
Yes, but that's kind of one that people often cite. But I knew what my answer was going to be the second I saw this, which was approximately 5 minutes ago. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
Okay.
100%. It only got 2 seasons, and it is a crime against humanity.
Okay. I have not seen that one, but I believe you. I think in general you have good taste.
I think you would enjoy it. There's a skinny, awkward, white British guy.
Say less.
Yeah.
I have a type.
He plays Dirk Gently, and then there's what's his face? He's a hobbit.
Elijah Wood?
That one.
Oh, sweet. I love Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood's in it. He's
Okay.
like the partner to Dirk Gently.
All right. Yeah, I'm about sold, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I gotta rewatch the whole thing like 5 more times.
Here's where my mind went immediately. If I could add 3 more seasons onto any show that was canceled way too soon, Pushing Daisies.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, how many seasons did that get? 2 or 3?
2.
Yeah. Like, man, 5 seasons of that I think would have been perfect.
Yeah, I mean, they did their best to wrap it up, and they did better than probably anybody else in the world.
Yeah, I gotta say, Pushing Daisies is an absolute masterclass on how to finish your show on the shortest notice possible, and like it shouldn't have been that way, but those were circumstances way out of their control.
Yeah, no, that's something that haunts me because I remember when that show premiered in 2007. It was a very important show to me because I was living in Chicago at the time and I didn't like know anybody, and so the show was like my comfort in a way.
Felt.
And then they took it from me.
No, pure evil. I love Pushing Daisies. It's such a great show, and yeah, I think 5 seasons for like. Here's the thing. I think there are some shows where it definitely takes longer than 5 seasons to tell your story. Like, I think, and I say this a lot about movies as well, like, it takes as long as it takes if you're, like, doing it right. If you're not, like, either rushing through things or stretching things out way longer than they need to be. Like, if you're doing it right, it takes as long as it takes. I really don't care. Like, again, I have watched and enjoyed every second of a 7-hour movie because it needed those 7 hours.
Yeah.
So, but in general, I think the sweet spot for a lot of narratives on TV is the, like, 5 or 6 season mark. And it just, Pushing Daisies was so good to begin with. I just feel like if it had been given that sort of, again, that kind of just, like, sweet spot, room to breathe.
Yeah.
We could have had something magical.
It deserved better.
It deserved better. And my second answer that I'm also like, here's the thing. I am so happy with The Return. Because, like, Twin Peaks was canceled in the 90s, came back 25 years later, and in a way, that was so perfect, I almost don't want to mess with it. But at the same time, I really would have loved to see the original vision where the murder of Laura Palmer sort of, like, fanned out into a much wider story, and that central, or that, like, again, the Who Killed Laura Palmer wasn't supposed to be the only draw to that show. It was supposed to kind of reveal so many more things about this world that David Lynch and Mark Frost had created, and that central question was kind of gonna fade into the background for a while. And man, I would love to know what that would have looked like. I really would have.
Yeah.
It's like, on the one hand, I am so, like, the return is perfect. Like, it's genius. I love it so much. It is essentially like an 18-hour David Lynch film, and that's incredible. But man, I wonder what they had in mind, and I would have loved to know.
People were just not ready for it.
No, they weren't, and that's so sad. So there's two of my hot takes. I'm kind of trying to think if there's another, like, TV cancellation that, like, was as quote-unquote personal as both Pushing Daisies and Twin Peaks. Because, God, I love those shows so much.
Yeah, this is just a more recent thing that I watched, not that it's recent content, but, like, I take such issue with Berserk and where they ended it. Because I think I said this, I can't remember if it was on the stream or whatever at one point.
Yeah, it was just like the last episode was just like, it felt like a filler episode.
Yeah.
That
like there's
sucks.
no big, not even a cliffhanger or anything. And it's like, there's so much more story to tell. That definitely needed several more seasons. Because, like, you know, it was leading up to something that we never got to see, which is now why I have to read, like, 41 books.
Sometimes it's just like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it really simply is just like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what it's like. It didn't finish the story.
Yeah.
Upsetting to me.
Oh, here's what I'm fucking bitter about. The OA.
Ah, yes, yes.
God, that show's great. And I know, and here's the thing, like, that one I am holding out hope for because it's relatively recent, and I know that, like, the people who created that show are, like, determined to get that story told, like, no matter the amount of time it takes. So, like, I am kind of keeping the faith there a little bit. But man, it would have been nice to not have to, like, break the flow.
Yeah. Yeah. And have to wait all that time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like a super villain petting a cat in my lap like this.
Like a Bond villain. I like it. Well, looking at my movie shelf for potential inspiration, but the thing is that it's kind of far away.
We could also think about this the opposite way of, like, what show went on much longer than it should have.
Supernatural.
I know you don't like Supernatural.
No, and here's the thing. I really enjoyed the first 3 seasons of that show. That show should have ended at season 5 like it was supposed to. They had, they did it perfectly. Or, like, if not, maybe not perfectly, but they did a really good job of, like, creating a 5-season arc, but then they just had to fucking keep going.
Had to milk it.
Exactly. Yeah, so no. Supernatural had way too many fucking seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are just some shows like that you start off and you're like, oh, this is kind of fun or whatever, and then eventually you're like, okay, enough.
Yeah.
Like The Walking Dead. That went on too long. I got over it.
No, and that's the thing. I am sure, like, the first couple seasons of The Walking Dead are fantastic. I have absolutely no interest in watching it because when I was in high school, I had a bunch of friends who would get together every week and watch The Walking Dead, and the only thing they would do the day after they had all watched it at whoever's house was talk about how downhill The Walking Dead had gone, and I was just like, I'm just gonna spare myself.
I feel like that show, and particularly, like, the last season of Game of Thrones, like, all people did was hate on it.
And the thing is, I, like, never hear anyone talk about Game of Thrones anymore.
Oh, I do.
Maybe that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just
See, Game of Thrones is a unique case because it's like they did all their fucking up in the one last season, so it's not like, or like the brunt of their fucking up in the one last season. So it's not like they were either cut off too soon or went on too long.
I think they were cut off too soon, and that's where a lot of the problem comes in, is that the last season felt very rushed.
I mean, yeah, that's also the thing when you, especially when you start adapting any book series, when you start adapting something that's like that TM, that has like a world map and a dictionary and family trees, like you are gonna need to give yourself a lot of room to breathe.
Yeah. And they did cut out a bunch of characters and storylines and stuff, but
Yeah, which like I mean, again, fair enough. Like I read like the first three or something, and then I just kind of fell off with it. But like, yeah, there's a fuck ton going on.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think in the final season it was a lot of people were mad because they felt that some of the choices they made didn't really seem consistent with the characters. I think what the problem is that they rushed it so much that they didn't have time to kind of explain how the characters got to that point,
That's the thing, because I think like when you watch Breaking Bad, for example, like that is a masterclass in like shifting alliances. Because at the beginning, like I watched that entire show with my mom, and at the beginning we were like you know, you really feel for Walt. You kind of just like, you know, you're this kid's like a fuck up or whatever, like, but by the end your alliances completely switch, and it is, again, they do it so well. So like it's absolutely possible to do that and have your audience like completely understand why, you know, people's alliances have changed, why X character is so different from when we first met them, but like you have to earn it.
yeah. Yeah.
And they didn't, and from what you're saying and from what other people's reactions I've heard, like, yeah, they did not give themselves the time and space to earn it.
Yeah, because I think the big complaint from a lot of people, just in very broad terms, was like there was a character they thought was a good character the whole time, and then she did a bad thing. You know, and then they're like, that doesn't make sense. It's inconsistent. And it's like,
We could have gotten there. We really could have. But you have to see, like, you know, your faves or whatever who start out with good intentions, like, slowly forced to make, like, to choose between two, you know, worse and worse options until suddenly this is where we wind up. Or, like, they keep having to, like, concede a little bit, thinking that it's going to help them in the end, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're what they've always been fighting against.
yeah, yeah. I think that they just didn't give it enough, didn't stretch it out enough, didn't go into enough nuance. I think that's ultimately what was the downfall of the final season. But
Yeah, all right. I mean, I'll buy it. I will absolutely
yeah,
buy it.
yeah.
The X-Files is also a unique case where I can't say for certain that it necessarily went on for too long, because there was such a seismic shift in the show for the final like two seasons. Like maybe if it had, like maybe if the final two seasons of the original run had been just more Mulder and Scully, I would have gotten tired of it, but I really can't say. I mean, I think the final season, The Last Revival, was fucking horrible. That didn't need to happen. But and that's another thing about the X-Files, is that they built so much. So like frankly, maybe, and that's the thing, maybe if there had been like just 9 straight seasons of Mulder and Scully like building to the original conclusion that they got to, maybe that would have been like, you know, close to perfect. Cuz they built themselves a huge narrative. Like I think it is a story that would theoretically justify 9 seasons to tell in its entirety.
Yeah.
So that's another kind of unique case, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't super fond of Agent Doggett, but that was sad. I was like, as a young girl, I am watching this largely for David Duchovny. It's like, why would you take him from me?
Although I will say they started doing him dirty in like seasons 4 through 7. Like with the hair and everything. Scully just got hotter the entire time.
She still is.
Well, duh. But like they really start like, oh god. Sometimes I look at like season 1 Fox Mulder and then whatever season it was where they had his hair really short and it looked terrible. I'm like, look what they took from me.
No.
Look at what they took from us.
Yeah, no. Me as a kid watching season 1 Fox Mulder and just
Listen.
you haven't seen Sex Education, right?
Yes, I have.
You have. I clearly can't remember what you have and haven't seen, I guess, today.
Mommy.
Yeah, right? And that's what I was thinking about with Gillian Anderson.
Mommy. Anyway, this is not Smash or Pass.
Yeah. I'm used to people not knowing that show. I don't know why.
That's one where I'm kind of confused as to why it's still going because so many people have left
What?
Sex Education.
It's done.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
I watched the final season a few months ago.
I don't know.
It just came out a few months ago. I watched it like as soon as it came out.
Oh, yeah, there was a point where they hadn't announced whether it was going to be the last season yet, and it was like, okay, well, Shuri Gatwa is gone, Emma Mackey's leaving. It's like, why is there any debate?
Yep, no, and they knew it was coming. They wrapped it up nicely.
Oh, maybe I will give that. Maybe I will actually finish that show.
Shooty's character, I felt like was really. It was a very unexpected but very satisfying ending for him. Dug it.
Noted. Anyway,
I don't know. They're notoriously bad at watching final seasons of things.
yeah. Yeah, nothing else is really sticking out of my. I don't think Hannibal needed another 3 seasons.
No.
Another
Yeah.
1? Yes.
Yeah, a lot of shows could you could have given this a little more room to breathe, finished up some things a little more
So, I mean,
satisfactorily.
we could change our rule to that because, frankly, yeah, 3 is a lot for some of my other sort of unfinished favorites out there. Again, Hannibal could have used another 1, and frankly, it would have been perfect. Although, can I really think of another? I'm trying to think of another show that just needed, like, 1 more.
And that's the thing is I know there are plenty.
I know, they're just not coming to me in a timely manner.
No, and I know there's a lot where it's like it just kind of ends and there's not really resolution. You're like just give us a few episodes, wrap this up, like answer these questions.
This might be controversial. I think that the OG Neon Genesis Evangelion could have used another 5 episodes.
Interesting. Or they could have just had the last few episodes be more useful.
I don't even necessarily think that the philosophical point that they were making was like unnecessary. I think that should have been a sort of narrative pause before some big explosive final 3 to 5 episodes.
Yeah, having those as the last episodes was a bit of an odd choice.
Yeah. Which, like, on the one hand, I respect it, but on the other hand, again, I think if that had been the, like, we center ourselves narratively, philosophically, and then go out with a huge bang, God tier. And I love Evangelion, so, like, this is not, like, me hating, but I think that would have elevated it even further.
Yeah, I know there's so many shows, I'm just not...
Well... Nothing else is really coming to mind for me. Maybe that's because I'm glaringly forgetting something that's gonna, like, hit me right before I go to bed tonight.
Yeah, I feel like that happens all the time. It was a few weeks ago, the pod or the stream that I was, like, listing out anime series that I'd watched, and I was like, man, I feel like I'm forgetting
You forgot
something.
Demon Slayer. I remember that. I can't remember which it was, but I remember that happening.
Yep. Demon Slayer. How did I...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so sometimes it's like right there and you just don't see it.
Yeah, I feel that.
these are not related. These are from Tokyo Ghoul, but
Nice.
this one's from Demon Slayer. Just my random Funko collection over here.
I love it. Um, yeah, okay. Since I can't really think of anything else, I'm going to say that we have thoroughly discussed this. And, you know, if something else strikes me later, I can always just pop that in
Right.
whenever. But my other question comes from something that's relevant to my life currently. As we all know, I've been very much back on my Animal Crossing bullshit.
Mhm.
Um, and this was inspired because I tried to play. I never play my Switch in like handheld mode. I always play it in like console mode where I'm like using the controller and the game is on my TV. I tried playing in handheld mode for approximately 5 minutes and I hated every second of it.
Interesting.
And I don't know why. The question is which is better, playing a Nintendo Switch in console mode or handheld, and I understand that like there's so much room for nuance here. Although I personally can't picture any situation. I mean, like unless you're like taking your Switch like on a plane or whatever, like you're traveling, like you have to play it in handheld mode. I can't think of any situation where I would ever voluntarily do it on tiny screen rather than big screen.
Yeah, see, this is interesting from my perspective because when I first got mine, I played it exclusively in handheld mode for like a while.
You
I don't remember how.
fascinate me.
Well, the reason was that I paid extra to get like the OLED screen,
Mm.
like the nicer screen. And I was like, well, if I paid all this extra money for this screen, I might as well use this screen. That was sort of the motivation.
Okay.
And I didn't have any external controllers, and it's like, yeah, I can put the Joy-Cons in the thing, but whatever. Um,
Oh, I don't have a controller. I always just do the Joy Cons and the sort of accessory that it gives you.
Now I have two controllers that are extra.
I
Anyway.
know.
Um, but I eventually decided to put it in the console, and I was like, yeah, it could be nice to see it on the bigger screen. And it felt so weird for a while. I couldn't get used to it. I was like, the screen is so far from my hands because you get used to seeing your hands next to the screen.
Yeah, I guess so.
Um, and it's just something very strange about it. There was like a disconnect, like a coordination issue.
No, even when
But
I
anyway,
first got my Switch, I like never played it handheld.
mm, yeah. Well, I suppose part of the point of what I was trying to get at was it depends on what you get used to.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't know why I got so used to like I don't like there was no point at the beginning even where I ever kind of like switched back and forth or whatever. I was always just like, nope, and maybe that's because most of my gaming as a child other than like on my like actual little Game Boy was done like on a Wii and an Xbox. So it was
Hmm.
always like controller in hand looking at the screen. So maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah. I think the main reason why handheld might be preferable would be in situations where you might do a lot of tilting and things like that. Because then you're actually kind of moving the screen. I think it makes more
Yeah,
sense. Because like if you're doing, I think you could do Mario Kart like that, right? Where it's like you
you
tilt
can,
it.
but you can also like you can also just do the motion controls with either just the straight up Joy Cons if you have a controller that like an extra controller that you purchased, or like with the Joy Cons and the accessory that comes with your Switch,
Yeah.
you can still do the like motion tilt control.
Yeah, but I feel like having it in front of you, like right there, is like you're in a car more so than like it's all the way
Yeah,
around.
yeah, okay.
It just feels more natural, I guess, in a way.
Point taken.
I mean, that's the only situation I could think of.
Yeah, I mean, I am gonna sort of make my hard declarative statement that console mode is always better,
Eh,
but that's
I
also
mean,
just me.
that's generally my preference now that I'm used to the bigger screen. Because there's a lot of things where it's like, especially games like Zelda, there's so much freaking detail that
Mm-hmm.
could get lost on a tiny screen. It wasn't such a big deal when I was playing Kirby. Because,
But even then, I like the new the most recent Kirby, Forgotten Land, like it's especially compared to like the Kirby games I grew up playing on my DS, like it's so detailed. I want to like compared to that, I want to see it as blown up as possible.
No, I played through Kirby in its entirety twice, entirely on my handheld.
Interesting. All
Yep.
right. So now, final thing. You had something that you came across on Facebook that inspired some questions. Please, the floor is yours, bestie.
Yeah, so we were talking about this before, and I think it's like before we were rolling, so probably not repeating myself for the people, but um, this guy is a magician, and I know him from my college activity days when I would plan campus events and stuff. And he has a pretty big following because he has like students from colleges over like 15 years, so he's got a lot of people on there. And so he likes to do this thing where he posts questions, usually ones that are sort of controversial, and people end up arguing in the comments. But sometimes they're just like, they're fun things. The ones he posted today was no more fun facts. Tell me the most unsettling thing about you. So that was fun to read. But
Unsettling thing about me personally?
yeah, the one that stuck with me is somebody said that they are 35 and three of their ex-boyfriends are dead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I can do that thing in my head where if I hear someone's voice for a little while, I can hear them say words that I've never heard them say.
Yeah.
I'm like really good at it.
Yeah, no, there was definitely some creepy things on there that people were posting.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything all that creepy about me.
Yeah, I tried to think of one. I couldn't think of anything. Like someone was like, it was just said, I was born dead.
I was born with a hole in my heart.
But
They
that's not
fixed it. It's fine now. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't have anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, so you can think on it. I'm gonna keep ruminating on that one. But that
Yeah,
wasn't the
yeah,
one
that one's gonna stick with me. I'm not gonna lie to you.
the most specifically. No more fun facts. What is the most unsettling thing about?
All right, yeah,
So yeah, that's gonna be percolating for a while.
I like it.
But the one the one that I meant to bring up was it was just a simple question of what is the movie quote you use the most often, which I think is an interesting question to consider because it opens up a lot of questions as well, like other questions.
I think, regardless of whether I'm sort of echoing this because someone already said the first half of this quote or because I'm doing it myself, I think the thing I quote most often is could be worse, could be raining from Young Frankenstein. Whether I am finishing someone else's sentence with the could be raining or I'm just saying it to myself, that's probably the one I quote most often.
There is definitely a pod from a few months ago where I say that is the thing you quote most often.
Okay, cool. So there's a precedent.
That 100% happens.
So that seems, yeah, I'm gonna lock that in as my final answer for that part of the question. Almost certainly that quote from Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to answer because I think most of the time when I'm quoting something, I don't realize I'm doing it.
Also possible.
Um, and so I know that there's a lot of things I quote. I lack awareness.
You're so right.
Like,
I know that you and I both do the and there was much rejoicing all the time.
I was about to say, I definitely fit in the like Holy Grail quotes where I can.
Oh yeah.
I do the on second thought, let's not go to Camelot. Tis a
You
silly
do
thing.
say that all, yeah. So it's I mean, frankly, I feel like it's got to be something from Holy Grail.
Yeah. I mean, it's my favorite movie, so it makes a lot of sense, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I sometimes like to slip in. There are some who call me, but then I
Tim?
don't say Tim, I'll throw in something else.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like there's something that I use all the time, and I just don't know what it is, you know?
I'll keep an eye out for it and let you know. Now that I've thought of this.
Yeah, and looking through some of the comments that people made, there were a lot of people who were bringing up Princess Bride, right?
Yeah.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Yeah.
I actually just used that in class the other day.
There you go.
I don't remember why, but so there were a lot of quotes from that. A lot of Anchorman quotes, like I'm in a glass cage of emotion
Yeah.
at this open. Um, and that's reading some of those things is what kind of got me thinking about other related questions,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Because I feel like there do tend to be a lot of the same ones that pop up over and over again.
Yeah.
She's a witch. Burn her.
There you go. I got better.
But it kind of again creates that question of like, are there some that are quoted too much?
Yes, absolutely. Fight Club.
Ah, interesting.
I do, like, I also just. That movie, here's the thing. I haven't even actually seen that movie, but the very concept of it pisses me off so much because it is just, like, the favorite of so many, like, toxic men determined to misunderstand that movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, I don't care. I don't. At your Fight Club quote, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, same thing with anything that Heath Ledger's Joker has ever said. And, like, I love Heath Ledger. Seems like he was a very cool dude. Like, absolutely no shade to that performance. It was honestly great. It's just the people that latched themselves to that performance.
I just realized that I quote Christmas Vacation a lot. That's top.
Yeah.
The frequency with which I say, oftentimes just to myself, little full, a lot of sap.
Ah, okay, yeah. Yep, alright.
I also throw in the "You serious, Clarks?" or "Don't piss me off, Art." And people are like, "Why are you calling me Art?"
I like it.
So there's lots that I use from that one.
Yeah, Fight Club quotes annoy me. Any other sort of, like, toxic masculinity movie faves?
Nearly, and I shouldn't say this because it's I'm finally free because there's a bit of hypocrisy in it, which I will explain in a moment.
Okay.
But nearly anything quoted from a Will Ferrell movie bothers me.
Valid.
And a hypocrite because I sometimes do quote from movies.
Yeah,
Like,
I gotta say, Anchorman, I'm fucking tired of hearing it.
yeah.
Like, it's a funny enough movie, but I'm like, enough.
Mm-hmm. Like one of the ones I saw on there was from Talladega Nights, where he's like, "I don't know what to do with my hands." I do say that a lot.
Which, like, okay, valid, fair enough. It's not that, like, every single quote from any Will Ferrell movie is bad, but God, again, Anchorman, I'm over it.
That movie came out a long time ago. Can we?
And maybe this is, like, totally down to some sort of just, like, you never really can tell exactly what your personal preferences are gonna be and why. Like, I'm never tired of Napoleon Dynamite.
Hmm.
And that's just me personally. And frankly, I think a lot of people would put that in the same sort of category of comedy as some other things that I think are overquoted.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's obviously like wholly subjective.
Yeah, it's so personal.
Just, it's sort of like innately like filled with hypocrisy.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
What to you is a fun thing to quote can be super irritating to somebody else, but also vice versa, right? Like,
Yep.
yeah, I'm sure there are people who are like, "How dare you? I love Anchorman."
Yeah, and I'm sure there's people who are like, shut up, I've heard enough of, the Holy Grail, I've heard enough of Napoleon Dynamite, and like, yeah, fair enough, bro.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Absolutely, but And I was trying to think if there's what is the most multi-purpose quote?
Ooh.
Because I feel
Hmm.
like there are some that work almost regardless of the circumstances.
Oh man.
I mean, it's hard to think of on the spot, but
No, I know, but
just
I feel like there's got to be something.
another one from the Holy Grail that I do a lot is "I feel happy."
That's a good one. Man, this is really bugging me because I know there's something good that I like. It's just out of reach of my
Yep.
brain.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, this I came across, what was that, just before noon or something like that
Mm-hmm.
today, and I was busy all day, so I haven't really thought about it,
Yeah.
but I feel like, yeah, I feel like the quotes I use most often I'm unaware of because they've worked themselves.
Because they work for like everything. I mean, this is kind of hypocritical of me to say because I quote this constantly and yet no one seems to know what I'm quoting, but the could be worse could be raining. It works for so many things.
Because people are often complaining.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that, but again, my struggle with no one recognizing that, I feel like defeats my own argument other than you.
I love Young Frankenstein. Hmm. Marty
Hmm.
Feldman. I love Marty Feldman.
That is a great movie.
um, it's not from a movie, it's from a TV show, but there was a thing I kept saying all the time, apparently, and didn't realize I was doing it, where I kept saying, "You're out of your damn mind." And I just kept doing a lot. Didn't notice until I said it, and one of my friends was like, "You say that all the time." And I'm like, wait, why? It's from Psych, from the character.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't even realize I was doing it.
Yeah, that'll work.
So I feel like there's definitely ones like that. Just other people
This is
notice. But
driving me nuts.
yeah, yeah, there's gotta be something.
And still nothing comes to me.
No.
I feel like this is almost too obvious, but the like, we're gonna need a bigger boat, like, yeah, that works for a lot of things. Any sort of situation where you find yourself in over your head.
You know, that is one of those things where it's like it is used a lot, and pretty much every time it's used, it is appropriate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there you go. That's one of them.
Because often the circumstances that you're currently in, your resources are insufficient.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that is a often encountered life scenario. Actually, oh, here I'm looking at my 100 movies bucket list poster and seeing if that's
Mm.
inspiring anything.
People do quote Casablanca a lot.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now it's really bugging me.
I mean, there's always Airplane. I am serious, and Don't Call Me Shirley.
I love that one. It's a classic for every.
Applicable in many scenarios.
I love everything so much. Surely you can't be serious.
Yeah.
So good. The best jokes are the ones that are just silly. Like it's not about mocking anyone or putting anyone down. They're just stupid in a clever
Yeah.
way.
That's another thing about, like, I feel like some of the most often quoted things, like, it's kind of weird to say, but you don't always get, like, it'll often come up as, like, oh, what's your favorite movie quote versus, like, I get to use this regularly because I think some of the best ones require such a setup.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Every once in a while I just throw out a "Don't call me Shirley" and people don't understand why.
It's, like,
It's usually just because I'm real tired. I'm just someone's annoying me. I'm like, "Don't call me Shirley." They're like, "Why you do what?"
understandable.
Uncultured swine. It's Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, nothing is really springing to mind from the poster here, which is kind of unfortunate.
I know I've looked at that poster. Oh, well,
Although I wonder if it would be even more helpful if I had more of the squares scratched off. I still have a few on there that I gotta work my way through.
mhm. Yeah, there's a ton on there I've seen that you haven't scratched off yet.
We'll get there eventually. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Did seeing this inspire any other questions, or were those your sort of two tangents that you wanted to bring up?
I mean, we've talked about this before. There's always more. But
It is a skill. But here's the thing, I'm trying to estimate because I turned on my screen recorder a little while before you actually showed up, and it says 56 minutes right now, but I know that that's not actually the case.
it's not that short. How how long after I was here did you turn? Wait, no, it's been on the whole time.
It's been on the whole time.
So it depends on where you cut it, but I'd say we've been going for like 45, 50 minutes.
I like to attempt to keep things vaguely consistent. I know we have some of our like extra long guest specials, which hoping that's the case next week, but some vague consistency is all I shoot for. I keep my standards low.
Then you can't be disappointed.
All right, yeah,
Level.
so with that being said, I think that can move us right into the weekly worsening. Would you like to begin?
Sure. I don't have a ton this week. I was thinking about it. I actually like a lot of the things I normally bring up. Like I haven't been watching anime or playing with my 3D printer. Um, but I did get my very first amiibo.
Oh, I love it.
It's Link,
That's so fun.
and it's for I don't want to say a stupid reason, but there's a particular item in the game that is difficult to obtain called an
Mm-hmm.
ancient blade. And it is an amazing thing. Like most enemies, you hit them with an ancient blade, like on your arrow or something, they're gone.
Okay,
They just literally cease to exist. It's
I dig it.
incredible. Um, and I was like, man, I really wish I could have more of these things. And I read online that if you have this specific amiibo, you can get one ancient blade a day with it. So that was the entire reason I bought this figure, which was like $40.
I mean, I bought the Pokeball controller. No, I bought the Pokeball shaped controller for my copy of Pokemon Let's Go for my Switch because that's how you get Mew, the Pokemon Mew.
Hmm.
Like I bought a whole controller because I wanted that Pokemon in the game. So
Yep.
like I've done a similar thing. I can't judge you.
Yeah. This one came out for Breath of the Wild, so the style's a little bit different. But like the detail on it is incredible, actually.
Hmm.
Very cool. It just came today. I had like a few minutes to try to make it work and couldn't make it work. So there's a little part of me that's afraid that I somehow messed with the NFC sensor when I took off the shell on my
Let's
Switch and
hope
then put
that
it in
wasn't the case. Fingers crossed for you.
it wasn't like recognizing it. I'm like,
Hmm.
I hope I didn't do something bad.
Oh boy. I hope not as well.
Yeah.
Um. Hmm. Yeah, I feel like I'm almost like disappointing this week, which is kind of sad because I just keep doing the same things. I
Yeah.
don't feel like I'm uniquely worse this week. I continue to play Animal Crossing. I continue to play Elden Ring, and frankly, I think I'm gonna get a controller, like a game controller for my computer specifically to continue playing Elden Ring and hopefully maybe have a slightly better time actually progressing in that game. We'll see. I think I found a pretty decent deal because I don't like the notion of the Bluetooth controller for my computer because it can make your reaction time slower. Like it's better to have it be wired so that there's no lag, which is very much not what you want when you're playing a game like Elden Ring or Dark Souls or some shit.
Hmm.
So I think I'm probably gonna spring for one of those very soon. And now I'm justifying it to myself even further by being like, oh, you could also use it for Dark Souls, and maybe if you wanted to play Bloodborne.
There you go.
So that's me.
Uh,
That there. I'm
well,
kind of getting worse in real time, but yeah. Other than that, there's nothing new. Let me put it that way. I continue, like, again, still reading Ancient Magus' Bride, having an absolutely fantastic time. Still playing Elden Ring. Still playing Animal Crossing. It just, this is another week, I think, for both of us, in some sense or another, of it continues. It worsens things that we've already established, just digging ourselves deeper into our respective holes.
I think part of that might be that it's the winter months.
Yeah, I
Like
feel like there's a little.
as
Your
we get closer to
opportunities to broaden your horizons, unless you just start playing a bunch of new video games, which, like, technically, Elden Ring, that's very much new for me. But, like, it's kind of limited. You can start a new series, you can start a new show, you can start being weird in those ways, you can start making yourself worse in those ways, but it's not like I can, like, go out and, like, get really into geocaching right now. Or, like, it
yeah.
would be highly inconvenient, too.
Well, I mean, so the reason I was thinking about it that way was like, as we approach con season.
Yeah, con season. Oh, actually, I did get tickets to go see Avatar again in New Jersey. I did that today. But also, like, it was like $40, so who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go to Toricon, right, the anime convention near here just to shop because
I love it.
I've been complaining about this for almost a year now that I only bought two of the Chainsaw Man prints that that person was selling, and I wish I would have gotten all four. And I'm counting on her being there so I can get
I
the other
mean,
two.
in defense of your past self, we had watched approximately 5 episodes of Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
So, like,
But
you didn't know.
it's haunted me ever since though. Like I specifically left there because they're up here. I specifically left openings on the wall for the other two. So I'm gonna go just
Godspeed.
buy those prints. I'm gonna buy a ticket just to buy prints.
Whatever. Whatever.
But then we'll get into the Saratoga Springs Comic Con, and then there's the Nickel City Comic Con in Buffalo. I've been looking at
Yes.
the Niagara Falls Comic Con a little bit.
Alright.
So I think those kinds of things will just really worsen.
Yeah, I think I am gonna go insane once I start attempting to build an EVA foam mask for the first time. But I have to finish my armor first. I'm not letting myself do that until I finish at least one other thing.
Yeah. Just wait till the first episode of the pod when I'm done making my like cloak, my Attack on Titan cloak, because I'm going to be putting that on and just like
Exciting times all around. So, like, I know worse things are coming. This is a sort of calm before the storm.
yes, yes, because it's like still sort of the dark, depressing months, and you're just kind of like chilling and don't
Yeah.
really feel like doing much but gaming.
Yeah. I'm making plans to become worse. I know it's coming, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, and you know what? Like it's often you talking about concerts and especially afterward, but like wait till I go to those concerts in Toronto this summer. I
Fantastic. I
will.
love it.
Oh,
Hi.
hey, remember when she wasn't a lab cat?
Yeah, that was, man. Can't believe we ever
For,
thought that.
most of her existence.
I feel like Oliver hasn't been on screen in way too long. Hold on. Kyle,
Yeah.
if you can hear
Oh,
me, please bring the boy.
I would like to request Kyle join us for a guest question on one of the upcoming pod episodes
Hit me with
as
it.
a
I'm gonna
player,
write this down right now.
as a player of Zelda.
Great. I don't even need to know what it is. I just want to watch people fight.
I want to ask him if the Rito and not the Rito, the Zora and the Gorons are cannibals.
Okay.
That's what like it wouldn't really work for us, but
I don't think he heard me, and I don't feel like unplugging. So,
oh well.
next time.
Be
Actually, no,
around.
probably not next time, because next time I gotta be all. Well, not. I hesitate to call myself professional in any circumstance, no matter how like excited I am or how like big of an opportunity it feels like, or like how big of a like a get, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
because this isn't supposed to be professional. This is fun
No.
time.
Mhm.
So,
Friends is right in the name.
hmm?
Friends is right in the name.
Friends is right in the name. So maybe us being overly friendly is in some way, shape, or form us being professional. But oh wait,
It's fit the brand.
what the fuck? I hate spam texts. I hate them.
Yeah.
But yeah, next week, exciting times all around. Girl, I hope you have been channeling whatever just tiny particle of metalhead you might have residing somewhere deep in your being. I hope you've dug it up. I hope that I'm really excited. I hope you're ready for this. We are talking with Zalothra, the lead singer of Plagues. You look like you were about to say something.
I was just to say, I don't really have metalhead in me, but I also don't
There's some
know.
hardcore in there.
What I was gonna say, I
Weaponize
also
it.
don't know Zalothra as like a person, um, and so maybe like metal isn't his whole thing. Maybe he is also into like some of the punk rock and stuff like that.
He did
Right?
name drop Gogo Bordello in one stream.
Yeah, and that's why I'm gonna wear my Go Bordello t-shirt. One of my Go Bordello t-shirts.
Rock on. So,
You know, so my point being, I think he and I will find commonality in music, even if
yes!
it's not metal. You know.
Man, I am so excited about this. So, make sure you show back up for that. I think it's going to be a great time. I have had this episode planned for ages before I even knew we were going to be able to pull it off, just as a sort of like, maybe one day, like the same thing that happened when I wrote down questions. I was like, it'd be funny to ask like Henry Zabrowski these things, and then eventually we
Yeah.
got there somehow. So,
I swear we wrote these questions like last spring.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because I've been listening to Plagues for a hot minute and tuning into many of the streams like a good little scholar of light. So this is very exciting. I'm gonna make a bold statement and say, don't miss it. It's gonna be freaking awesome. So, with that all being said, thank you for fighting with us, friends. We appreciate each and every single one of you, and we will see you again next week with Zalothra. Hell yes, rock on. We'll see you then. Adios.
This week's episode of the Fighting with Friends podcast was hosted by Bridget Kelly and Dr. Sarah Brooks. You can find other episodes of the podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or your other favorite listening platform. Follow us on Twitter at brkelly98 and at nsarahsaid. Rate and review us on your podcatcher of choice, like, comment, and subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitch and Facebook, and join our Discord community using the links in the description. You can also help support us via the Acast supporter feature, or consider subscribing to our Patreon for early access to episodes and fun bonus content. Thanks for listening!